back here again, and the wonderful roller is present, as is the glute band. You don't need trainers on. Forgive me, I was actually going to take the trainers off, but I haven't, so I won't bother now. It's because my feet have been so cold. What do you need for this final part of the roller for the floor? You need a head cushion and you need your roller, obviously. So it's a good morning back to Diane and Lorna and Sarah Butler. Great that you can actually be here. The roller to start with, and Helen, well done. The roller will be along the line of the mat, and you will need your head cushion. So as you're preparing to get yourselves to the floor, remember that you need to go down one leg and then the other. The other thing to also remember, hi Margaret, is that you need to be able to see your screen. You will be lying down for the first part of this opening moment, which is floor work, Matworks, whatever you want to describe it as, where the roller amplifies your connection with your core. Always on the floor work with any equipment, the core becomes more dominant than anywhere else. I'll take myself to the bottom end of my roller. There's no rush in getting yourself lying down. The secret is to have yourself right at the bottom end and then gradually lower the spine down. I could have taught you how to roll down on that roller. I just think actually at this level and stage that I'm teaching, I'm better off not really doing that. I'm moving my hair out of the way so that when I put my skull on that head cushion, no ponytail, no hair can knock it off the roller. So Tom, just watch your hair, make sure it's not in the way. And Ken, if you're in the room watching this, get your hair out of the way, man. People, first thing to do when you're lying on that roller, and particularly if you've managed to do the leg work pre this, you should be wonderfully warm and the joints relatively mobile. But you need to then give chance for the body to pick up where the sacrum is. The sacrum is the back of your pelvis, where your rib cage is on that roller, and you're aiming to have a close connection to minimise the space between the last rib, that's your high waist, and the whole of the shoulder blade back area. Not the shoulder blades, they'll be off the sides. And then the skull, remember we talked about the occipital bone, the ridge of the skull on the head cushion. I can put my hand under my neck and I've still got the lovely lengthened curve that is meant to be there. My nose is pointing across the ceiling. If I was to point my fingers where my nose is pointing, that means that my neck isn't pointing backwards or extended. I'm going to have a quick look. I'm going to take the head cushion with me and where my thighs are. Because you're using a glute band, if indeed you are, your thighs should look like tram lines with a fist space between them, and the fist space should be kept in place by the thighs gently pulling against this band and your heels being against the floor. Imagine your feet are in sand. The outside of the instep, along with the whole of the heel, has got a grounding sensation. Working then with the sense of the roller, remember the roller, the brain will pick up the instability that's being forced into the body because the roller is rolling. And if you go with your breathing straight away, you'll find you can settle the spinal column down, settle the back of the pelvis down, settle the front of the chest into a more open shape, but only if you breathe. So the breath in and the breath out, keeping that breathing connection, keeping the chin slightly nodded in and your eye gaze across your ceiling. Breath out as the ribs come down and you feel you close the gap between ribs and roller. Pelvic tilt using pelvic floor, using a sensation of the lower abdominal fibres working with you. You're now an imprint. Breathe in and breathing out, allow the pelvis to roll away again. Inhaling. Exhale the rib cage placement. Pelvic placement, giving you the lumbar stretch. You have to ask pelvic floor to work, and then the triangle here between hip bones and pubis will be felt as active. Just a couple more of these while you set up the environment, allowing for stability system to work rather than generally thrusting and forcing. All right, we have one more. Breath out, rib cage, navel spine. The midriff has shrunken, the navel's pulled down. The spine behind me on that pelvic tilt and rib cage placement is lengthened and space appears for the vertebral column. I'm going to stay then into my neutral position. I'm in neutral. I can feel the sacrum from left to right and both feet feel equal push to the ground. Take your hands and just gently pull the elbows in as you hold the back of the head cushion. Now I'm going to lift the head cushion as I roll up, rib cage, thoracic area only, inhale and back down. I keep my elbows pulling in the direction away from the neck as though they want to pull to the top of the knee joint. Inhale, start to tune into your spinal column, both rolling upwards, away from the roll to the base of the scapula, inhaling and returning down. Be disciplined. Exhale to flow upwards and inhale back down. The space with the thighs gently pulling against that band stays continuously because that means your side bottom is contributing, and that's pelvic stabilisation. But the rib cage, upper back moving because the breathing muscles are waking up that part of the mobilising. Last time for the breath out. Here you go, and then inhaling, down you go. All of that was in neutral. You now place your hands on the floor, let the palms go to the ceiling if you feel tight, or just have your hands so the thumbs to the ceiling, and you're on that kind of, I call it a chopper hand position. Big breath in then. Exhaling, go to pelvic imprint. And as you imprint the pelvis, pick up one leg to tabletop, inhale and lower it back down. Exhaling, pick up the other leg to tabletop, inhaling back down. Keep this system going in a gentle imprint. If you feel as though you lean further onto one hand than the other as one leg lifts, then you're just simply leaning rather than finding core pelvic stability. Exhaling then, the leg floats upwards into tabletop, and inhale, it elegantly lowers down. Exhaling, the transference of load, or ground connection is probably more accurate, and back down. Okay, the next time you lift one leg up, leave it up there, breathe. Remember you're in pelvic imprint. Keep the hands to the floor and bring your second leg up. Nod the chin in and get the kneecaps absolutely level. I can't emphasise enough how these knees need to be totally level. At this point, your head cushion may well roll off the roller. We don't mind, we can get it back again. You've got your ab curl. I can see my feet higher than my knees. As I breathe out, I'm in imprint, I curl up, and I'm making sure that I don't let my thighs slide against each other, because that means your pelvis is dropping one side and then the other side of the roller. The very purpose of this action here is that the pelvic position would stabilise. Do me two more, the elbows bend, the ribcage flexors, and you're not pushing too much against the ground. The ground is there, it's like you've got stabilisers on, gently, equal load either side. Stay where you are, breathe in. Take one leg away then, keeping the other leg up in the air. I've got my right leg in tabletop, and I'm going to keep my right hand to the ground. I'm going to place my left hand under my skull and fold my armpit. As I breathe out then, I'm going to lift up in the direction of that bent leg, and then as I go back down, I'm going to lower down both my head and my leg. Exhale, same thing again, curl up, an emphasis towards my right hand oblique as my right leg lifts and my left side rib cage pulls in. The slower you do this, the more chance you get to recruit the flexors and to stay stable on the roller. Exhaling is the starting to curl and the leg lifts. You feel the shrinkage here, inhaling and back down. Next time I curl, I'm going to stay. So staying there, properly support the skull. Inhale to push the leg away. Exhale to pull the knee towards the elbow. Inhale, open your arm, and exhale, pull it in. So I've got a butterfly with my left arm, and I've got a leg extend and bend with my right leg. So I reach it away, and I pull it back on the breath out. Inhale, stretch it away. Exhale, pull it back. Inhale away, and fold that leg under you. Take a moment, breathing in and out. Make sure you go back to your imprint and symmetry and curl up again. Pull this time the other side up, so I've got my left leg tabletop and my right hand behind my head. You need to know that to talk, which means I can't breathe properly, and stabilise on this roller is something horrible. Now as I curl, I lower the leg down to tap. As I uncurl, I pull it back. Breath out, curl, lower the limb, return the limb back, and tune now into the back of the sacrum. Yes, your right heel pushes against the ground, but your left hip at the sacral area needs to know exactly where it is in terms of sensation on the roller. And that way you will rehab a detail within the pelvic stability system that you otherwise couldn't reach. Exhaling, we curl, lower the leg, and lifting, and curl, leg lowers, and it lifts and stays. Inhale, breathe out, stretch that leg away. Now if you need to uncurl as the leg comes back, do. Exhale, and pull that leg to you. Exhale, and inhaling to you. You can reverse the breath in this tube, there isn't really. And also you can just pull and pull. Whichever way, the evidence of the activation being appropriate is that from your left hip bone to your right rib cage, you have this diagonal, and it's the oblique fibre connect, and let that go. I'm going to put my head cushion back because I need it for this moment here. You've got your head, skull on the cushion, centre posture, check where your knees are, make sure that in the activation of the core you haven't twisted and shifted, and take your arms to the ceiling. We're simply going to release the shoulder by taking your arms backwards as far as you have to go, and guess what? The rib cage cannot come off the roller behind you. That means your core stabilise, and then we're going to open the arms out wide. Don't drop them to the floor, just feel for the collarbones opening, and you'll feel the biceps stretch, and close them in again. Inhaling, I'm going to let the arms go back as far as my shoulder allows, so long as my rib cage placement is down in the direction of the roller. And I'm going to float them up. If you're not doing deep breaths in and out for this, you'll not get as much change as could be had for a very, very tense part of the posture. This is all about the constant locking out we get of the upper back, across the shoulders, and even more so with COVID in place. This is the last time doing this, but please, you could lie on your roller and listen to that whole COVID announcement and reduce some of your stress physically whilst actually winding down your day. That's an exercise that's dead easy to do. Okay people, the final thing then is go back with your hands on the floor, come back with your legs to tabletop, and then breath out, both legs to the ceiling, curl up, and if you can't have your legs straight because of your hamstrings, then keep the legs bent, keep the knees level. I'm then going to take one leg up into scissors and then pull the legs back to slight bend. I'm going to take my other leg up. It's like a scissors and come back to bend. I have, because my posture type is, I have a decent length of hamstring, so I find it very easy to scissors. Remember, you could do it with one knee bending, a bit like the previous activity, but ideally you want the split difference, front and back. The next time both knees bend, check that both knees are level, and then lower the feet to tap and pick them back up. Exhale, lower them to tap. You're in imprint this whole time, pick them back up, lower, and then the next time, lower to tap and roll yourself up. Beautifully done, wasn't it? Kay Bodder's in the room, as is Jackie did. I'm glad you could tune in. Okay people, your next position then goes kneeling on the roller, and similar to, we've done something like this but not this. You find yourself, you're in all fours, you've got yourself up with your shins on your roller, not your knee joint, your kneecap, and you want to be the equivalent of all fours as though the roller wasn't there. Breathing in and out then, find your armpit, shoulders stabilise, and then slide the right leg off that roller, tap the floor, and then slide it back again. Exhaling. As my right leg reaches back and forth, so to and fro, my right armpit works quite hard and my left oblique area. The next time your right leg is back, leave it back and then heel to bottom, hamstring curl. What the roller's doing here is it's forcing a greater stabilisation from the pelvis. In other words, hip bone to hip bone pubis. If this is in your lower back in any way, then you're simply not finding your pelvic floor and your breath out, draw the navel in, or maybe even your rib cage placement. Okay, that was the final heel to the bottom, and we're ready to change sides. Find your shins on the roller, not the kneecap. Pull your shoulders away from the neck. The load going through the upper body is minimal because you're core stabilising. The feel for pushing the left thigh against the band and then tapping the floor as the leg extends is really what you're looking to achieve. I'm very aware of my kneeling leg against the roller as it helps me find more oblique stability. Stay with your leg there. Exhaling, lift and lower. Lift and lower. So now my left hand anchors through my armpit, not my wrist. And we stay in the leg lift and do your hamstring curl. That means your thigh bone stays almost horizontal to the ground. It depends on the flexor and how tight it is or isn't. But I resist twisting or sagging into my upper back. And the only way you'll do that is if you constantly breathe and ask the rib cage to meet under the navel, etc. Let that go and allow the posture to go back here. If it's too big a knee bend, just reach your arms further forwards. And interested in you loosening up anything that happened to the middle to lower back inappropriately. Now, this is going to be fun. You're going to roll the roller under the side shin. You need to know a lot of the stuff I could do with the roller, because I can't see you and I can't get immediate feedback, I sometimes wonder if you'll actually get what it is I'm doing. This is one of those moves where I have no idea whether it's only because of my knowledge and constant experience of plus whether I get it. You will let me know, I'm sure. When you look at this position, it's no different to a side lying position on the mat. The roller is under your, just above your ankle bone. Don't have it on your ankle bone. You're in a side lying balance and your feet, if anything, are fractionally forwards. They're certainly not behind your hips. And there you'll stay. Now I've got a glute band, so I'm happy to immediately feel the lift and lower. So it's the exhaling, abduct, inhaling, slow motion down. Because you've got the underneath side on the roller, you've got actually a greater demand for stabilisation of the pelvic area. You've stacked your hip bones left to right, and if I haven't got a baggy top on, there's a gap under my waist as I lift and lower. Make that the last one, keep it hovering the underneath leg, and then slowly creating the stirring of the thigh bone within the pelvis. If you physically press down on the roller as you lift up, you get quite a bit of feedback by doing that. In other words, the pelvic position amplifies on both legs. I'm going to change the direction and point the toe. I'm going to go back the way I came, pointing the toe, and the hip, if I monitor my hip bone, goes nowhere. The pushing down against the ground, which is the roller, and the pushing up against the band really makes a duality of connection from both sides of the posture of the pelvis. Make that your last one. Now that will have just woken up even more of the abductor area. This is the next bit that's interesting. You won't need your head cushion for it. Can you come up onto your forearm, having your elbow under your armpit? Reach your hand for the lower shin area, and immediately you should get a stretch through the underneath side of you okay? And you'll feel some tightness here. Now exhaling, put your other hand here and lift. Push the roller away. Inhale and come down again. Breath out. Roll up and breathe in and back down. Use the abdominals, use your armpits. You can turn and look down if it helps you, people with weakness. And next, exhaling, lift and down. Now come up and you've got a massive, massive stretch of the side of the waist and lower down. Breathe. Exhale, up. You can even push your top leg further away. That will cinch you in here. Shoulders away from the neck and back down. It's like a mermaid, isn't it? Just imagine you've got a mermaid's tail here. All right, and let that go. Quickly then, you have the other side. And remember, I've said I need to know what you actually get from this. I get an awful lot, but I would be quite strong and therefore kind of tendency to tightness here, so any range of movement's great. The roller isn't under, your ankles aren't on the roller, your shin is. So you can side lie here, or you can have your head cushion under, whichever you want. I can do it with or without, it doesn't really matter, but if you're necky or shouldering your posture, you need your head cushion. Ready then? I've made sure my feet are level, hollow the abdominals, and lift and lower. So this is lateral stabilisation, the ability for your posture to be strong and aligned in terms of the sides of you. Remember, everything about us is 3D, and particularly the joints that we need the most, the thigh bones to the knee joints, the ankle joints, the hip, you have to have, 3D strength going on. Lifting and lowering without throwing it up and down. Don't look out your knee, make the tension be on the thigh bone with the thigh band. Okay, let that be and hover. You ready for your circles? So on this, as you push down against the roller with the underneath leg, as you press upwards, and that's mortar and pestle action going on in the thigh bone to pelvic position here. If I cup my hip bone front and the back of my iliac crest, I can see that my pelvic position is stabilised. The demand to make that happen is massive though, you need to know. It doesn't just happen. Now point the toe and reverse that circle. Tune in to the breath out for the up and over. Breath in, breath out for the up and over. This will get you a global area here. Remember, we say that if you get a pinpoint hot spot, it ain't right. And it would suggest you're no longer in neutral and you're not actually moving with good enough range. You might even need to take your band off. Whichever way, this was your last one. Let that go. Now, I come up onto my elbow. I check my feet have stayed where they belong. In being up on my elbow, put your other hand in place. Arm, you can't see my hair. Bad of me for not having it out of my way. And then lowering back down. So on this one then, exhaling, find your armpit, shrink your tongue. Your other hand, fingertips, lift the hips up. You're in side plank, aren't you? Inhale and lower. Now if you can't physically do it, imagine you're about to do it and then let it go. Because that will prime the body to get stronger. You can't feel your neck here. It has to be armpit, some deltoid and waist. Do me one more. Breathe. Push against the roller and lower down. Now, come up onto your hand. Here we have the stretch. This feels lovely. I'm deliberately creating a banana shape with the sides. The thing to watch here is that your hip bone hasn't rolled backwards. Your top leg will be longer than the underneath leg as you end up with this lengthening out through the underneath side and shortening of the rib cage to the hip bone crest. This side giving you the stretch. You can lower down and push back up. Lowering down and up. Lowering down and let that go. Bend the knees. Okay people, you deserve a reward. Slow motion. Come to standing with the legs bent and put the hands to the roller and roll it to where your shin is. Take some time, there's no rush. In this shape here, straight away, you're stretching out your hamstring, You're free at your lumbar spine. You haven't tucked your bottom under. If your knees need to bend more and you need to pull your roller against your shins, do so. Otherwise, huge inhale, head hanging. Breathe out, start to pelvic roll as you push into your heels and roll with the roller up. I should have had my forearms on the roller to make more sense of that. And voila. You have now completed 4 parts to the standing roller work, 4 parts for your mat floor work, which should give you a bit of an a la carte menu to go to. The bits you found difficult might be the bits you actually need. And as long as there's no pain adversely caused, it's about exploration and finding connection. If in doubt, breathe in the start position and notice and see if you can pick up information about where you feel, what you feel. All I can say is it's still a lovely day out there, I suspect. Well done for being here. We will be here tomorrow. I'll discard my glute band that's been on for the last 4 hours. We'll be here tomorrow, Tom and Tanya time, where you can actually get that fun moment of playing around with what we've been doing, and we'll see how Tom copes with this workout in terms of the actual whole Rendezvous with the roller series. I'll say goodbye. You're amazing. Glad you were here, and I'll see you tomorrow.